Hello everyone, and today I'll be playing the Wingless Dragon, where we follow the misadventures of Wingless Seg and his dearest friend, Saz. The great land of Kianglisa, where the thunderous earth cast itself, the heavenly winds, and the sea rolled with ancient purpose. A country older than the earliest human kingdom, golden like the sun's rays, it was a prosperous sanctuary. And the home of the Arcadians, the scaled descendants of Tiamat the Broodmother and her beloved Marduk, the first Arc-Knight. A place where legendary heroes once resided during a time of great strife and turmoil, when the storms of chaos raged endlessly. These tempests terrorized the land, bringing death, destruction, and discord to all of Kianglisa and its people. The Arcadians, never known to back down, manifested the will of the divine spirits to aid them against the disaster, distributed accordingly. Tiamat and Marduk's brood became the children of sky, earth, and sea, each a herald of hope in dark days. The children of sky soared through the heavenly clouds, their majestic wings fanning the flames of passion. The children of the earth molded the mountains, their steel-like scales a shining reminder of true valor. The children of the sea drank deep of the abyss, their faint melodic songs telling of never-ending wisdom. With kin and shared determination, they brought an end to the raging storm, albeit at the cost of their mother and father. For the Arcadians were Tiamat and Marduk's most precious treasure, and they gave their very essence in protecting them. As Tiamat and Marduk bled their last, they blessed their heart and home and the children within it one last time, offering themselves to them. Now they really love their children. Our body shall be your home, our blood your waters, and our eternal love your guidance to weather the darkest of storms. Thus did they declare. A new era of peace began, and the skies cleared, shining with opportunity and hope. But even so, the Arcadians dared not forget their sacrifices, for the brightest of lights cast the darkest shadows. Through the generations, the Arcadians would honor the legacy of their parents and fallen ancestors through excellence and protecting their beloved Kianglisa. One could say it was an Arcadian's duty, and each found purpose in their part. Each and every one except for poor little Seg. For you see, Seg was not like his mighty ancestors. Seg had been born quite weak. Though he was 12 summers old, he was much smaller than his fellow Arcadians. So small, in fact, that he had to be careful not to get trampled in the city streets. Hey, watch where you're going! Seg was so small that his voice was nary a squeak. The other Arcadians had trouble finding him at first, until he spotted a little white ball between his titanic talons. Oh dear, forgive me, child. I did not notice where you resemble an ant more than an Arcadian. Ahahaha. Seg was not only small, but he was also very frail. His scales did not glitter and glimmer like the other Arcadians, and were in fact very thin. So thin, in fact, that he could not withstand the heat of his own breath. Ouch, it's too hot, much too hot. The Arcadian across from him sighed, his nostrils wrinkled at the scent of soot and Seg's roasting scales. Too hot, my child, all Arcadians mastered their breath by the 5th summer. How embarrassing. But perhaps Seg's most notable trait, the thing that caused him the most grief, were his missing wings. Many kinds of Arcadians lived in Kianglisa. Some long, some short, some strong, some graceful. Not every Arcadian bore wings, of course. The children of sea danced within water, and the children of earth burrowed through the mud. The Seg's kind, the Arcadians known as the mighty dragons of the sky, did have wings. Some had one pair, while others had two or more. And yet here Seg was, without a single pennon to his name. I want to go high too. But you can't, Seg. You have no wings with which to fly. The children all laughed at him, flying and flaunting their own majestic wings. Seg turned red as the morning flame, but they did not notice, nor would they care if they had. What kind of dragon can't fly? Oh, poor Seg. Poor Wingless Seg. They jeered and chortled until Seg felt his eyes burn with shameful tears. He then left, tail between his legs, sniffling all the while as he continued to laugh. Seg waddled far until I had no longer hear his louder laughter, and farther still to the summit of a quaint hill. Upon that hill rested a large and beautiful tomsrick tree, its pink flowers glistening with the morning dew. It was Seg's favorite tree. He loved how gangly the branches looked, and how the pretty petals that danced in the breeze. He loved the way the bees bumbled about, and the honey they made was so rich and sweet. He loved the shade it casted, cool and perfect for an afternoon nap amidst the smell of grass. But most of all, Seg loved how tall the tree was. Loved and hated it, for he so desperately wished to be like that tree, big, majestic, and dependable. Better yet, he wished nothing more than to fly to the top. To feel tall, proud, and powerful like his ancestors, to reach the heavens and look over the earth, just as Tiamat and Marduk once did. He had tried to climb the tree before, but his claws were too brittle, and it did not feel right. It wouldn't be the same if he couldn't fly to the top, as a proper dragon would. Alas, Seg was destined to be earthbound. No matter what I do, I'll never be a mighty dragon. Seg felt his heart weigh heavy as a stone, and resigned himself to a nap to forget his troubles, curling up into a ball by the foot of the tree. But just as he had started to drift away, he heard the distant sound of footsteps nearby. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Who could it be? He would rarely come to the tamarisk tree. Squinty, he opened one eye to look. Who dares disturb my nap? He roared, though it sounded more like a shrill mew instead. For him was none other than his dearest friend, Saz, another dragon Arcadian of 10 summers. She approached Seg in her mortal form, looking of good health, but quite concerned. Seg? Oh, Saz, it's just you. I'm sorry I yelled. It's alright, Seg. You seem really upset. Were the others laughing at you again? Seg sighed, then curled up into a little heap upon the floor. Saz took a seat next to him under the tree, letting her tail drape over his comfortably. Yes, they kept calling me Wingless Seg. How horrible, Saz huffed, looking ready to fight on Seg's behalf. He did not match her enthusiasm. It's true that I don't have wings, but I never asked to be born this way. Saz reached out and hugged her friend. She was warm and gentle to the touch. I know, Seg, not everyone is born the same. But why am I the only one mocked for it? All because I don't have wings. You don't need wings to be a good dragon, Seg. But I want wings, Seg cried, as if begging the heavens themselves. I want to fly as high as I can, to swim in a sea of clouds, to brave the fiercest of storms, to watch the world from the heavens, or at very least climb my tree. Saz felt her heart break. Seg was her most precious friend, and it pained her to see him suffer. She wanted to help. But how? How could she help him? Saz thought long and hard, thumping her tail against the ground over and over. Until finally, she hatched a plan. Maybe we can make you wings, she said. Seg looked at her like she was mad. Make me wings, but how? Maybe we should do what our ancestors once did. Seek aid from the earth. From the skies to the mountains and even the depths of the sea. Surely they will provide. Like our ancestors? That is all and well, but I'm no Tiamat or Morduk. Come on, Seg. We'll never know unless we try, and I'll be here for you through every step. There was truth in her words, but still, Seg found himself afraid. But in that fear, he was also desperate. Could he truly find his wings or the spirits? He could not think of any other better ideas. Perhaps it was worth trying after all. Alright, Saz, I trust you, he finally said. Saz smiled bright as the summer sun, and he found some seed of confidence in that light. Okay, let's go, Saz declared, and so they departed from the tree. Seg's first trial was by wind, in the skies of Kianglisa, where Tiamat's tears have formed floating islands and Murduk's war songs become the winds, the place where Seg's kind resides. The dragons and amphitheaters were passionate souls drawn to the arts and finding beauty in all of creation and destruction alike. They dedicated their long lives to masterful craftsmanship, whimsical and tempestuous in equal measure. Seg and Saz made use of their ateliers, and together they toiled away, twisting and pulling and knotting and cutting, until they made a pair of fox wings. Then they found the highest tier available and prepared Seg for takeoff. That looks really dangerous. Move your arms to and fro and be light up step. You'll surely fly, Saz told him. Seg breathed in deep and then steeled himself. And then he ran from the top of the slope all the way down and back up the other side. And he jumped. He flapped his diminutive arms wildly, and the wings on his back followed suit. But so labored were they by his weight, that the wind could not carry him. Seg flapped and flapped until his arms grew tired, and the wings became still. Oh no, he cried, and the earth pulled him down. Seg! Saz ran as fast as her little feet could carry her. She ran, and then took flight and caught her friend. I've got you. Oh dear, that was close. Are you well, Seg? Oh, Seg whined as the world still spun around him. I've never been so scared before. Though their handmade wings were beautiful as a dream, they were impractical and unfit for flight. The trial of wind was a failure, but they did not give up hope. They bid the children of the sky farewell and came back down to earth. Next, Seg would try the trial of earth. In the plains, where the Tiamat's ribs and back erected many majestic mountains, her heart brewing fire within, the Sela Marduk's spear melted upon the caps of their colder cousins. The lindworms and the drakes were called these hills home, stalwart defenders of Kianglisa's borders. They revered nature and the cycle of growth it perpetuated. Strong and dependable, they were spiritual souls that risked life and limb to protect their land and kindred with equal dedication. Seg and Saz hiked with the warrior shamans, discussing body and spirit, praying and singing and offering and kneeling, until they summoned the spirit. Seg and Saz approached the spirit, a small flame born from the magma and core of Tiamat's heart. What do I do now? Seg asked, looking all the more nervous. Now you offer your pleas to the spirit. Saz motioned towards the entity, which lingered with silent anticipation. Seg swallowed hard, cleared his throat, and moistened his chapped muzzle. Oh, great spirit of the land, I wish for a pair of majestic wings. Having heard Seg's pleas, the spirit flared to action. It soared over to Seg, danced a circle around him like a firefly, and then dived into his chest. It burned and grew so hot Seg started to sweat. It was as if his soul erupted. He wondered if he would pass out. But in the end, nothing happened. The heat vanished and Seg felt no different than before, other than slightly feverish. Saz looked all over for him for any signs of budding wings, but alas, he was still the same wingless Seg. Though their wishes were born from the heart, it lacked substantial foundation, and the spirit could do no more. The trial of Earth was a failure. Oh no, what a waste of time, Seg lamented, but Saz would not be so easily swayed. We cannot give up now, Seg. There is still one trial left. And so they left the plane, traveling down the river path and further still towards the sea. To the trial of water, where Tiamat's blood and Marduk's faith cascaded and became the sea, rich and ever plentiful, and always singing a hushed lullaby to their children through the pearly waves. The worms and hydras were stoic intellectuals, riding the tides of knowledge wherever it led, never satiated and always thirsting for more. They searched the depths of the dark waters for answers to all queries deep and mysterious, but no matter how absurd. Second Saz were escorted to their wisest sages, who offered their heads and hands in bountiful archives that kept them occupied, reading and writing and mixing and boiling. Until they brewed a potion. Drink this, and the ancients will listen to your turmoil, child, the sages told him. Seg eyed the potion with trepidation. What if it didn't work? What if it made him sick? And perhaps worst of all, what if he did not like what he heard? You can do it, Seg. Just go hold the answers you seek, Saz smiled, encouraging her friend. She had weathered so much with him as is, Seg cannot help but feel a stronger will. Besides, he had already come so far. And so, carefully, he opened the bottle. He sniffed it once, then twice, and finally gulped it down. Did it work? Seg tasted the salt of the sea, felt the humors that warmed his soul, and heard the rolling waves in his ear. The voices of the ancients spoke to him in hushed whispers. Tell me, why was I born without wings? Seg asked and waited with bated breath. Why is any creature born? The ancients postulated. Seg was not sure how to answer. "'Cause that is how life is," he finally offered, uncertain of his own choice of words. For better or worse, the ancients hummed in approval. Aye, child. Life comes and goes in strange ways, never quite how we expect. The winds swell with courage, but may rampage in fear. The earth rumbles with nurture and quakes with anger, and the sea kindly provides and yet swallows greedily in turn. Such is the way of the world, and the life this earth giveth and taketh. There is little one can do to persuade it otherwise. Seg felt tears return, hotter and stronger than ever before, as if the very waves themselves threatened to drown his soul. Say it is not so, he cried, shaking his head. Life is cruel and unfair, but must I accept such sorrow? Must I be doomed to be a failure? The humors within him swelled, from the pits of his stomach to the tips of every claw, as if to comfort him. Nay, child, mother and father did not give up their lives for you to suffer and wither away. They wished for their kin to prevail through all hardship, to divide and conquer and reach the stars above. Seg continued to weep, for he did not understand. How could a dragon without wings accomplish anything so grandiose? But I am neither big, nor strong, and worst of all, I cannot fly. How would I ever reach the stars? The ancients were quiet, so quiet, Seg wondered if they had abandoned him to his misery. Finally, the salt-water breeze wafted by, and with it their parting wisdom. Define thyself not by thy weakness, but by the tempers needed to weather the storm. Ye are already an icon of our parents' virtue, for it takes great strength to remain stalwart and true of heart under the assault of nature. Nay, it shall not be thine downfall. Seek and ye shall find in time. The path to glory is different for every child. So weep, if thou must. Weep, roar, and tremble as if the earth will be torn asunder by thy pain. Feel the tempest within, let it rage and swallow you whole. Then suffer his rancor before it spits you out. For facing the eye of the storm is but one path the answers ye seek. And in those answers ye shall find peace, child. Let the coldest squalls part for warmer days. And remember that love is much the same. The ancients whispered one last time, and then swarm away, gone from Seg's body, mind, and tongue. The trial of water was a disappointment. It wasn't really disappointing. Seg curled up to Saz once more and collapsed into her arms, where she held him tenderly. So exhausted was he that he could not even move. "I am tired," he croaked, weeping still. "I do not understand. I just want to go home." Saz said nothing, but merely nodded, petting his head. She thanked the sages for their time and then carried her friend away. Past the rolling waves and back to his Charmsrick tree upon that quiet hill, Seg wept the whole way until he could weep no longer. The sun had set, and with it a blanket of stars sprinkled in the night sky, dancing with the petals that still fell. It was only when they reached the foot of the tree did Saz break the silence. "I'm sorry, Seg. I was too ambitious. I did not mean to hurt you." Seg's tears had since dried, yet his voice was still hoarse as he spoke. "It's okay, Saz. I knew you were only trying to help. You tried when no one else would. Thank you." They shared a small, sad smile together. "If I may, Seg, I'm very proud of you," she cooed, running a hand over his thin scales. Seg looked incredulous. "Why? Nothing worked, and I'm still the same wingless Seg." "Maybe, but you're very brave through all of it. Is that not something to be proud of?" Seg thought about it for a moment. "I don't know. Maybe a little, but I still feel quite as bad as well. You all work so hard to try and make me feel better, and yet all I could do is cry. Surely I am pathetic." Saz shook her head. Her eyes glimmered with hope underneath the moonlight. "Then cry if you must. Just as the elders said, there is no weakness to be found in emotion or failure. Maybe you cannot reach this tree now, but until you can, I'll be here to lift you higher." Suddenly, Saz spread out both of her wings. Seg gazed in wonder. So distracted was he that he did not notice her take flight. Slowly and awkwardly, Seg went higher and higher, so it looked like she would reach the moon. And then she stopped at the highest branch of the Tasmeric tree, finding a purchase upon its sturdy base. She placed Seg onto her shoulders so that he could reach even higher, his tail wrapped around her neck for balance. The stars and moon were bright and full that night. It was such a beautiful sight to behold. Seg was absolutely mesmerized. But the longer Seg stared, he soon realized it did not seem all that different from his usual spot upon the base of the tree. Indeed, it was still the same size, still the same beautiful milk white, still the same iridescent glow. And yet, despite this epiphany, he still found himself transfixed. Though Saz could not see him, she knew by heart and smiled to herself. "One day, you'll find your way, Seg, without wings or flight. I don't know how, why, or when. It could be tonight, tomorrow, or even many moons or summers from now. But I believe in you, and I always will." Finally, Seg understood. He breathed in deep of Kianglisa's winds and let the smell of the earth fill his lungs, and tasted the moistness in the air. "Thank you, Saz. It still hurts. It may always hurt, but I want to believe too, so I will. I'll never stop until I find my own way up." And so declared Wingless Seg. To the heavens, to his best friend, and most of all, to himself. The end. Okay, and that is the end of the Wingless Dragon. I like the story overall. It was nice and simple, and it's just read just like a storybook. Honestly, it could be turned into a children's book, because the whole premise of the story teaches a lesson in the end, basically. Like, basically, you find out your own way to like do something that others like can't, that you can't, that others can. You'll eventually find your own way to do it in the end, and it might take a long time for you, but in the end, you'll find your own way, and you just have to be patient and basically accept yourself for who you are. That's the whole story that I got from it. But yeah, I like the art. It was very like cutesy in a way. So I thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.